Hey guys, Lord Sora here. As the season 3 is approaching, excitement is real, and in this video I will be going over some of the season 3 mechanics that might really benefit our Shadow Wave Necro and Necromancer in general, both in PvE and PvP, but as always we'll be looking at them through our PvP goggles. So in season 3 we are getting a pet called, I call it an engine guardian. If you have ever played a game called Elder Scrolls Online, there was this monster set that will spawn an engine guardian. So basically we're going to have the spider robot next to us this season that will be doing some abilities, spells, attacks, and utilities in general to support us in combat. Before we go into the details of the patch notes in the new upcoming season, the first thing that I have done when I opened this page was I hit Ctrl F and I searched Unstoppable to see if there is any kind of a power that will give us what Metamorphosis was giving last season, which was a big controversy in the PvP scene, just having Unstoppable all the time and not being able to be CC locked, so on and so forth. So far, there is nothing states anything like that. There is no CC breaker, there's no Unstoppable. However, there will be 6 or 7 new legendaries and aspects, I believe, and 6 new unique items that will be coming to the game that might be Metamorphosis. Maybe Metamorphosis will turn into a unique item, like how the Sacrilegious Ring from Season 1 turned in as a unique item in Season 2, but that is yet to be seen, so we don't know. This is just a speculation. Second thing I searched was the glyph to see if there's anything similar to Tears of Blood, which totally ruined the PvP and I think made all the other content in the game trivial, which outside of AOZ, which was really something I really didn't like, would turn the PvP into really a one-shot fest. So far there's no info about that. Gauntlet doesn't have much info and it's not coming to the season right away, which is kind of, I put the Gauntlet and AOZ in a similar way. It's going to be the end game content that you will be playing and competing and increasing as your tiers as you go, as you get stronger. But yeah, these two things out of the way. So far we don't know if there's going to be a glyph like Tears of Blood. My gut feeling and some of the research that I have done tells me that is not the case. But we will see. We will see what's going to happen in Season 3 on these Metamorphoses and glyph things. But let's go jump in the new seasonal mechanic and how it's going to work in the Season 3. Alrighty, we get this spider looking pet in the Season 3 that will be doing some spells and attacks for us, as well as providing some utility. We're going to be assigning 2 skills to this guardian from the governing stones. You see there are 2 spots available, and based on the skills we assign, we're going to modify or improve those skills using tuning stones, and we can assign 6 of those. So long story short, we can slot 2 governing stones that will make our guardian do some skills and spells for us, and then we will be able to modify and improve those skills by slotting additional 6 tuning stones. So what are these governing stones? I will go over the ones that initially stuck out to me. However, we will yet to see numbers on these powers like cooldown and damage numbers, so this is all subject to change. But based on what we know and what we learned in the game so far, just initial tier crafting, that some of these governing and stones and tuning stones might be quite good for us. I think ideally we will want to run 1 attack spell, so like our pet will do 1 attack and then 1 utility for our survival. Let's go over the utility and defensive ones first that stuck out to me. First one, auto defense. This one was sounding sort of okay, however in the end it says does not work against bosses and players, so which I think this won't be much of a use in PvP, and if it were, I think most PvP encounters happens from melee range, so outside of firewall sorks and RF rogues, rapid fire rogues, so this probably won't be used in PvP. Second one is protect. It says that our guardian will provide us some barrier. Barrier is always very nice in PvP and in PvE in general, so depending on the percentage numbers and cooldown, I think this might be to go to utility defensive skill to slot, but we will have to see. Especially if you have a Doombringer getting around 30k HP like I have showed in previous videos, this can be quite beneficial in both PvP and PvE. And then the other one we have is the reconstruct. That creates a beam that will heal us depending on the max life again, and we don't know the values obviously yet. Depending on those values, this might also be quite good in PvP, sort of replacing the sustain and healing we lost from vampiric power that we were using called Undying, and hopefully maybe it makes up some for that. But for now, I don't see myself taking this one over the barrier one, but obviously once we see the numbers, that might change. And this covers most of the defensive options, so I guess these are the ones that we will most likely be using in PvP as a defensive. But let's dive into the offensive ones that we can possibly benefit. First one that immediately stuck out to me is the Bushwhack. It says it will ambush the enemy and strike multiple times. I really do like the multiple times wording over here, and it's kind of creates the idea of that it will ambush and like jump on the enemy, so even if it's from range, it will kind of become like a gap closer, and it will give us that single target damage that we need, especially as a Shadow Wave Necro that I like to play. And if you look at all the other offensive ones, you will see a trend. They all sound similar, so I won't go into much detail of them, but Bushwhack especially stuck out to me the most because it says it will hit the same enemy multiple times. My speculation is some of based on that we know the Guardian will adapt our stats, so their damage should scale with our own damage. In fact, they probably get our crit chance and possibly lucky hit chance as well. I care about the lucky hit chance more, which I'm not sure about if they will be able to hit lucky hit and proc lucky hit like we do, but considering that they do, and if this Guardian attacking the target that we are fighting, especially in duels, this might help us reduce the cooldown of the mist, as proccing a lot of lucky hits and generating corpses, possibly, which might not work because it's our own passive. So we will need to test those interactions, but I do believe the multiple hits and proccing lucky hits will also help us reduce the cooldown of the mist from the Decrypify. But these are all speculations, so we will need to test. But for now, I like the way this sounds, so we'll see. Like I said, there are many additional attack spells here in the Governing Stones that we don't know much about. Still, we will yet to get those numbers and see their functionality, but I'm excited to test these and see how they will perform. I'm sure we will find some cool interactions. Another unique one that stuck out to me is actually the Flash of Adrenaline, that it says it will boost our damage. In a scenario where these Guardians' damage does not scale as much as we planned or anticipated, this might be a good one to use to boost our own damage, especially in PvP. Since the Guardian may not be that reliable source of damage, this might come in handy in that scenario, but again, we will need to test. Alright, let's look into the tuning stones. There are some really cool ones here. Again, reminder, tuning stones will be able to slot 6 of these that will buff and modify the 2 governing stones that we have chose. Right off the bat, I like is the breaking support. It will break the enemy's barrier and it will also wound the enemy for 2 seconds. This might be quite important because we will be missing the vulnerability uptime that we got from last season through Prey of the Week. So I think this one will be quite a must-have, but again, we will need to see that. Another good one I like is the Safeguard support. When used, skill will also grant us damage reduction. More DR is always good. And the one I am most excited about is the Dusk support. As a Shadow Necro, one of the downsides that we face is we do not have any sticky single target damage over time. Our dot damage is all based on area, and once the enemy is out of the area, our damage is simply gone, so they can avoid it. Right before they die, they step out of it, which gets annoying. But this might help us pressure the opponent even more, since we will have a shadow damage on them. And if Guardian's shadow damage actually scales with ours, which should based on what's been said, then it can be a significant damage actually. So yeah, super excited about this one. Another good one seems like the gripping support. Sort of like our tendrils pull, it will pull the enemy, and this might be quite nice if it additionally pulls them like how tendrils work into our Shadow Wave. For example, it can be quite of a nice combo, but we will need to see the cooldown of this, of course, and some other things, how it's gonna interact, so on and so forth. Another one I like here is the Mockery support. This one can be a good mitigation, I think, where the incoming damage will be transferred to the Guardian. Still, obviously don't know how it will work, but if we are imagining this one right, it should be quite useful in PvP and even PvE, honestly, where I imagine for a certain time, 2 seconds or 4 seconds, the incoming damage that we receive will all be transferred to Guardian. And I don't know if the Guardian can die. I don't think they die, or they are targetable in a way, so in PvP we'll have to see, but I think this one will be really, really good. Additionally, we have these uber unique tuning stones that we did not know. However, one of them is already leaked, and it's sort of a budget Shaco. I don't think there's much to say on this one. It gives +4 to all skills for 2 seconds, it says, similar to how Shaco works. This one can be quite crazy, but I'm not sure I'm looking forward to farming both Shaco, Doomburger, and this one. It's gonna be a lot of grind, so we will have to see, because apparently the drop rates of this one will be similar to Uber Uniques. But in a scenario where you have Shaco and then this gives like +8 to your mist, or even your corpse explosion. Then you have +2 macabre from amulet, and then +4 mist again from your pants. Maybe you can even get your mist cooldown as low as like 8 seconds. There are diminishing returns, obviously, but we will have to see. Which will be like 4 and 5 seconds downtime of mist, which would be crazy good, obviously. And this does not even consider the cooldown reduction from Decrypify or explosive mist aspect. So yeah, this might be really, really good. So if you have this one, I think this will be a significant leverage over other opponents that do not have this one. Last but least, not going into other details here much, but then we were getting the end game dungeon content sometime this season called Gauntlet, and word in the streets that there will be not a glyph like Tears of Blood, and hopefully that is true, but more information on this one to come. Hopefully, there will be streams coming up. But yeah, quickly wanted to cover some of the new seasonal powers we're getting and how seasonal mechanic will work. More to come, obviously, as we test and find out more about these powers and their numbers and values. If you like the content, please consider liking and subscribing. I am mainly focusing on Shadow Wave Necromancer for now, and we'll be making more Necromancer builds, but I am mostly focusing on PvP also. So if you're interested in that, please like and subscribe. Until then, Lord Sora here. I will see you guys on the next one.